name is Greg Weaver, and this is ENG4E, Grade 12 Workplace English. Let's welcome everyone back to class today. It is Wednesday. It's the middle of the week. We are going to be looking at lesson 12 today. To call and join our class, you can call 1-800-465-7144 or 737-4017 or 2983 in the Sioux Lookout, Black Sewell, or Dryden areas. So, welcome back to class. We're going to be looking at lesson 12 today. Now, this is a fairly big lesson. There's a lot of material we're going to cover. Before we do that, before you can even attempt to finish lesson 12, you have to watch the course movie, which is Twilight Eclipse. If you don't have a copy, you can't find a copy of that, then let me know, and I can arrange to have a copy sent to your learning center. We do have copies here in Sioux, or you can try and find a copy in your home community. I know it's a fairly popular movie, but a lot of people have seen it, so it may be available in your own community. If not, we can send a copy. Let me know if you do it right away. I know most of the DECs are out right now for the conference here, so I can give it to them to send back up when they leave on Friday. So if you need a copy, let me know as soon as you can. So we're going to pick up and get started with lesson 13. Yesterday, we looked at how to do a research project, and we looked at how to use Microsoft PowerPoint. So we looked at key question 40 and key question 41. So looked at what are some different steps you can do to do some research on a topic, as well as how to set up and create a PowerPoint presentation. And then you had to, using those skills, research the Quileute tribe, which is the First Nations tribe that is portrayed in the film Twilight Eclipse, and then create a PowerPoint based on them, informing people who they are, where they live, where their cultures, traditions, their heritage, and what impact has Twilight had on them. So if you're on the screen right now is key question 4, which is the actual PowerPoint you have to complete. And you need to complete sections on who they are, their location, their culture, the traditions, beliefs, the impact of Twilight, and then the sources. Where did you get your information from? So you can find all that stuff on the internet. We looked at 5 different websites yesterday. There was their own First Nations website, which was QuiluteNation.org. We looked at the Wikipedia page, and we looked through the websites to look at the impact that Twilight has had on them as a nation. Now, one thing you'll come across in your research is the term Indian. Is in the U.S. where they live. They don't use the terms First Nations. They still refer to them as Indian reservations. So you'll come across that a lot. That's just the culture and the content and terms that are used in the U.S. Here in Canada, we're much more politically correct and much more aware of what goes on in our First Nations communities and refer them differently. So that was lesson 12. We looked at that yesterday as well as a bit on Monday. And now we're starting with lesson 13. So I said you have to have watched the film before you can complete this activity. So it says now that you've watched the movie, you are going to complete some activities that let you express your opinion on the movie. You'll be answering some questions on the movie, and then writing what's called a supported opinion on how you believe the movie could be improved. So I expect that we will spend the rest of this class and probably all of tomorrow's class looking at and exploring this topic. And we may need to be bedtime on Monday as well. So we're looking now at our after viewing strategies. In lesson 11, we did our before viewing strategies. And then lesson 12, we just finished looking at, was our during viewing, or what can you do while you're watching the film or the movie. And then, so we're looking at now, is our after viewing. Once you've watched it, what can you do about it? Like what you watch, how can you apply it? So, first start with key question 42. So these are some questions based on the movie. Now, there is 6 of them there. These 6 questions will probably take you about an hour and a half to do. They're not just little one-sentence answers. Each of these questions, or the answer to these questions, sorry, should be about a paragraph, if not more. So there is a lot of content, a lot of thought that has to go into these. I'm not looking for you just to restate what you watched in the film. Instead, I want you to think about what you saw and combine that with your own ideas and beliefs to come up with an answer. So, question 1, this one's a bit easier. It says, why is Victoria creating a vampire army? We know that comes right from the film. What's her motivation? That comes from the film. But this next part's different. How would you react if you had experienced the same loss that she suffered? So this is where you're making a connection. If you remember back to lesson 2, if you did the grade 11 English course, looked at 3 different types of questions. This is a making connections question. So we're thinking about how can you connect what you saw in the movie to how you would react if you were placed in the same situation. So how would you react if you experienced the same loss that she'd suffered? Remember, in the first movie, while Edward and the Cullens do kill her mate, he provoked the whole incident. He went out and sought out Bella because he wanted her. He wanted to feed on her. So, well, yes, they killed him. He sought it out. He initiated the conflict. So think about that when you answer this question. Because a lot of people have a hard time with that. Question 2 says, why does Bella want to be turned into a vampire? What is driving her to make this decision? What's causing her to make these decisions, to believe that? All that can come from the movie, but the next part doesn't. The next part says, do you think that's a good reason? Yes or no, and then explain why. Don't just say, no, it's not. Well, why do you think that? Explain your answer a bit more. Number 3 says, what did you like about the movie? And what did you dislike about the movie? Explain your answers. This is for 6 marks. Now, this is really important because this is going to be the basis for key question 43, as well as your assignment in key question 45. We'll get to key question 45 late next week. But it's really important because this one here is the basis for key questions 43 and 44. I may have said it's not 45, it's key question 44. So really take your time when you think about this question. When you look at your answer, take your time. It's the basis for two other key questions as well. So what did you like? What were three things that you really liked about that movie? Did you like the actors, the plot, the First Nations that probably showed First Nations, the vampires? What did you like? And then think of three things that you disliked, you just couldn't stand in the film. Or think of things that you, if you were going to remake this film, you would change. You'd move around. Now, number 4, 5, and 6 these are a bit more deeper questions. These questions will probably take you a lot longer to do because they really require you to really think about what you saw and what you believe. So question 4 says, have you ever been put in a similar situation as Bella, where you had to choose sides on an important issue? What was the issue? And why did you choose the side that you did? So that's what you want to think about and consider. Now, the part that's in bold or the bigger letters is there, if you've never had to been put in that situation, how would you react if you had to choose between your spouse and your partner and your family? So if you have faced situations, Bella, answer that one. If you haven't, how do you had to choose between your family, your partner, and your family? Who do you choose and why? How would you react? Number 5 says, how are First Nations portrayed in the movie? So good, bad, give examples of how they're portrayed. Do you believe that this is an accurate representation of them? Or has it been glamorized by Hollywood? Explain your answer. And that's for 5 marks. So remember, and for this, think, and you may have come across this in your research for the last key question, but think about how the First Nations are portrayed in the movie. About physically, what do they look like? That's your hint for this question, without giving too much away. And then find number 6 ties in number 5 as well. It says, what stereotypes does the movie present about First Nations? Are the colludes shown in a positive or in a negative way overall? You know, what stereotypes are broken and what new ones are created? A stereotype is a common belief that people have about a certain people, age group, demographic, anything like that. And what new ones are created? How these new stereotypes impact First Nations in North America and around the world? This is a really big question, and it really gets to the heart of how is this movie show and portray and represent First Nations people? So here's a key question for you too. It's worth 40 marks. It's worth a lot of marks. What we're going to do now, before we get into our next little bit, we are going to take a bit of a break when you get started with these questions, and then we'll come back. I'll answer anything
get started with them and think about them. If you have any questions, let me know, and then we can answer those questions when we come back. So we'll take probably about 5 minutes or so, and then we'll come back after that. I will talk to you then.
Welcome, my son. Welcome to machine. Where have you been? It's alright, we know where you've been. You've been in the pipeline, filling your time. Providing the toys, scouting some boys. You bought a guitar, polish your mind. You didn't like school, you know nobody's fool. So
I want a chance to get started with this key question. If you do have any questions for key question 42, feel free to ask them now, or give me a call, send me an email, text me, Facebook me. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. So what we're going to move on to next is how to write a supported opinion. So what we're looking at here is a series of paragraphs explaining what you think about a topic. Your position may also be called your argument, because you are arguing about what you think and supporting with facts, proof, and examples. Sometimes a supported opinion will also try to persuade the reader to adopt the same position as the writer and take action. So all supported opinions take a position and make an argument, and they have the following features. An introduction that with a topic sentence that states the position, a body that develops the argument with details, proof, and examples, and a conclusion that restates and summarizes the position. Now, most of the time, a supported opinion piece will ask you to explain why you think the way you do, and to give proof or examples that back up your position. So with all of that in mind, we're going to jump right into key question 43. This is our first really big writing assignment for this lesson or in the unit. So it says, now that you viewed the movie and thought critically about it, what about the movie would you like to see changed? Remember I said back that question 4 of key question 42 ties into this? We wanted you to get that done because your ideas you have there will be what can use for this question here. So, what about the things? Think of 3 things you would like to change, and the reasons why you would change them. This comes the thesis, the main argument for your supported opinion. So there's a couple of different steps we're going to work through. Number 1, the template. We'll start that today, and we'll work through the rest of that tomorrow. And then we may get a chance to start looking at number 2 tomorrow, but then we won't get to 3 or 4. That'll be on your own. But the first one says, to complete the writing template at the end of this question. The template will help you organize your thoughts and ensure that your supported opinion is focused and on topic. Number 2 says, using your completed template, so you can't do number 2 until you finish number 1, you're going to write a rough draft of your supported opinion. This can be done on lined paper or on the computer. If you use a computer, save it as key question 43 draft. Do not spell check or grammar check it or change any typos or misspelled words. Just leave it as is. You'll be editing it and changing everything else around in the next part of the key question, which is number 3. So when you start doing your template or your draft, either do it on lined paper or a computer. The choice is up to you. If it's on a computer, just type it out. Don't worry about the spacing, any typos or words you may misspell, or the spelling or grammar check. Leave everything the way it is. Type the entire thing and save it as key question 43 draft. Now you're going to edit it. So refer to the following editing checklist, which is on the next page, to help you. Submit both your rough copy and your good copy at the same time. Now, if you do your rough draft on lined paper, you can make your changes around your draft. Don't erase anything, circle them, and correct them on your good draft. If you want to add extra sentences, write them on the back page and just draw an arrow to where they're going to go or number them. If you do it on a computer, you can run the spell check, the grammar check, fix the typos, and look to fix any mistakes that may be there. And you want to rewrite things, do it that way. When I mark this, I look at your rough draft first to see where you started. Then I mark your good copy, and I see what I look for and figure out what changes you made between them. If you do it on a computer, it's a bit more challenging. If it's on line paper, it's easy because you have everything circled and written in. And then you hand in your good copy, as well as your rough draft and your template. Now make sure you double space your completed supported opinion. So for your editing check, you do not have to hand this in, but you have to go through it just to see what you missed and what needs to be fixed up. So it says, have I clearly stated my position or my opinion on the topic in the introduction? Yes or no? Have I stated my main details in my introduction? Have I used separate body paragraphs for each main detail? Did I use a topic sentence to begin each body paragraph? Did I use a summary sentence at the end of each body paragraph? Have I restated my position in my conclusion and your main details in your conclusion? Did you make sure you didn't introduce any new reasons or details or explanations in your conclusion? That's a big challenge. Some students think, oh, I want to add this in, and they add it in at the end. It has to go in a body paragraph somewhere. Did I use transitional words to begin each paragraph? So it's first, second, finally, thirdly, in conclusion, words like that. Have I included elaborating details in my body paragraphs to support my main details and my position? Did I follow spelling rules to make sure that I spelled all of the words in each paragraph correctly? Are all my sentences complete with no run-on or fragments in them? Did I use capital letters correctly for proper nouns and to begin sentences? And finally, did I use commas correctly for any lists that I did? So you don't have to hand this in or copy it out, but you do need to go through it as you edit your work just to make sure everything makes sense. So another good way we do your editing, and I tell students every single year, and everyone doesn't believe me, but it's the best way to do it, is when you think you have everything done, you think you've done all your editing, and you think it's good to go. Read it over again, but read it out loud instead of in your head. Now, the reason why I say that is when you read it in your head, you may come to a word where you may be missing an or the or but. And your brain will naturally fill in that missing word. But if you do read it out loud, then your brain can't fill in the word. You have to, I missed that word. You can make the correction and keep going. It's also to figure out when your sentence may not make sense, or it may seem like it's complete, but you read it and it says, when I read that out loud, it doesn't sound really good. It doesn't sound right. And there's another chance to fix that as well. So all total, I expect that this assignment will probably take you about 2.5 to 3 hours to do. It is fairly long, but it's worth a lot of marks. And the marks come from both the work you do before as well as your good draft. So it's worth 50 marks total. You get 10 marks for completing your template. You get 10 marks for doing your rough draft. And you get 5 marks for doing some editing. So right away, it's possible to have maybe as much as 20 or 25 out of 50 before you even mark your good copy. And then you get 20 marks for your good copy. So it's also possible to do your good copy only and complete everything and still get a failing mark on the assignment. You have to do all of the work, the rough work, as well as your good draft. Speaking of the template, we're going to look this over, and we'll start today and we'll work again tomorrow. This is your template. So the first thing is your thesis statement, or what are you going to argue? What are the 3 things that you would change in the movie Twilight Eclipse? So that's your thesis statement. Just what would it be? The 3 things I would change would be blah, blah, blah. ABC. Then you have your body paragraphs. You outline your body paragraphs. So this is where you prove or you explain why you would make those changes. Why would you change whatever it is in the novel or in the movie, sorry. And so you have, each one of those you have your topic sentence. So the first change I would make is point 1. And then what are your body points? How would you prove what you say? Why you may have to make that change? You need at least 2 points for each supporting idea. This has been cut down a bit. It used to be 3 points, but it's a lot for some students to do. So it's down to 2. And then you have a conclusion, which where you restate why you make that change. It's the exact same as your topic sentence, but you use different words and different idea and different phrasing to explain it. The idea stays the same, but the words change. And remember, you can't introduce any new ideas in your conclusion. Everything you say there has to be already stated in the body points or in the topic sentence. And you're going to do that 3 times for the first supporting idea, the second one, and then the third one. And then you have your conclusion. So with your conclusion, you want to restate your thesis statement. So once again, you don't want to copy it word for word. You want to keep the same ideas and then but put it in different words, different phrasing, make it sound different. And then you have your 3 supporting ideas from your first 3 paragraphs you had there. You're going to put them down, but once again, you want to use different words and different phrasing than you did in your introduction and you did in the topic sentences for the 3 paragraphs. Same ideas, different phrasing or different wording. And then you have your concluding sentence. How would you wrap everything up? So for most of this assignment, it can be done in point form. You need sentences for the concluding sentences for each paragraph and that. Your thesis can be done in point form. Your supporting ideas and your body points can be done in point form. I'm not looking for spelling. When I mark it, I don't look at spelling and grammar. I look at what are your ideas? Do your ideas make sense? And how do your ideas translate into your finished product, into your finished supported opinion? How does it all tie together? And then once we have you completed this, then you look at taking your ideas that you did and turning that into a rough draft. So what we're going to spend time, we don't have time today, but we're going to spend time tomorrow filling out at least the introduction, the thesis statement, and probably two of the body paragraphs. And then we'll look at how do we take those and turn those into the paragraphs. Take these points and make it sound so it's complete and whole, not just a bunch of bullet points. But we'll look at that tomorrow. We're only going to spend tomorrow's class in this, so we'll get done as much as we can because we have to start with lesson 14 on Monday. And we'll do lesson 14 on Monday and a bit of Tuesday. We'll do lesson 15 on Tuesday and Wednesday. And then we'll start with unit 4 on Thursday. We'll do a lesson a day. We'll go 16 on Thursday, 17 on Monday, 18 Tuesday, 19 Wednesday, and then lesson 20 on Thursday, and that's it. And then we're done our course. We only have, after this class, we only have 9 more classes together. So it's really important that you really get your work done and get handed in as soon as you can. If you have any questions, you think you need a bit more time, if you're not planning on graduating this year, we can set up an extension. If you are planning on graduating, we can't do any extensions for term 2B because the grad ceremony is the 24th of June, and it's too tight for an extension to get done. But you do have until the 19th, the end of the administration week, to get everything done. So other than that, I'll talk to everyone at the exact same time tomorrow. We're not going to get started